microphone?
Didn't even think about the microphone being needing it.
Get him, Ben.
Do what now?
Get him.
Why?
Remember me from AC?
I do. I had you in class.
Yeah.
Behave now. Okay. I signed up first, but not for this reason. But when I was asked when I'd like to go, I requested that I go first because of the nature of it. And it's instead of winding up with the devotional, we're going to be starting with the devotional. Because I'm going to be doing something related to my ministry called Gymnastics to the Glory of God.
Ben?
Now, have any of you ever seen a program that I have done, Gymnastics to the Glory? Oh, well, I do have, okay. Well, I want to explain to you quickly, and this is not going to be very long because we're limited to 10 minutes. But in this ministry, I illustrated Bible lessons with gymnastics. I would do a stunt, make an object lesson out of it, and then a spiritual application. The stunts that I would do would be usually on the stage with a table, and then I would stack boxes and chairs and ladders and boards, and I used a lot of people. Now, after I would do the stunt, then make an object lesson out of that, and then the spiritual application. And to me, the stunts were not that spectacular. The important part of the program, the ministry, was the Bible lessons, because that was the eternal part. Now, that was the part that could make a difference in people's lives and change lives. But I would use people out of the audience. And now, I did this for 30 years. And I traveled over 1 million miles. And I did 3,571 programs. And people say, well, how do you know that? Well, I had to report to the IRS. Literally, I mean, that's it. I kept records. And I never did contract for money. But if they wanted to help, they could. And so, you know, I reported it. I was not tax exempt. So I reported all that. But in 2006, 2005, I took my mother in to live with me, and I did my last program in 2006. And then after she passed away in 2007, I was diagnosed that I need 2 shoulder replacements. And I mean, both of them. I have no cartilage in either one of them. And so I can't do what I used to do. But, now here's an interesting thing. Just in the last year, I've been requested to do some programs. One was for a church leadership conference, adults. And then I did one for a teenage youth gathering on Sunday evening. And then I was invited the 7th of this month, no, it was last month, to do a program at Idalou, Texas. I was the keynote speaker at Idalou, Texas. Had 100+ kids come out there, and they said, you've got 1 hour and 15 minutes. Well, it was a great evening. So that's a little bit of the history. But now, I've got to use somebody out of the audience. Is there a person here by the name of Friona? Oh, there you are right in front of me. Would you want to come up and help? I'm going to pop that right. Put that right there. Friona. Do you know what we're going to do? Would you trust me?
Sure.
Sure. Would you take your shoes off, please? Now, in this lesson, we're going to pretend that I'm Jesus, okay? We're going to pretend I'm Jesus. Okay, now, is your daddy here? What's his name?
Mark.
What do you call him?
Dad.
You call him Dad, okay. Mark, would you come up and help us? Now, I'm going to have Mark to be a spotter. And what I'm going to do with her, I just want you, a spotter usually tries to keep people from falling and getting hurt, as well as helps people to learn how to do the stunt. And so we're going to be doing this stunt here, and I just want you to stand to the side here in case she would happen to lose balance, that you could catch her, okay? And I'll be talking to both of you as we go along. Now, do you know me? Okay, what's my name?
Dan.
Don't listen to the world. Don't listen to the world. I'm Jesus. Remember, I just told you. Well, see, can you see how my lessons go? People listen to the world and they don't listen to Jesus. Well, you can carry that lesson from there on, because I've got a lot of lessons we can get out of this. Now, Fiona, what I'm going to have you to do, I'm going to put my hands on your waist. I want you to put your hands on my wrist. Grab my wrist, that's it. Then I want you to lift, put your right foot up on my thigh, right here. Okay? Now, I want you to stand up. Can you stand up? Okay. You're going to stand up all the way up. Straighten your knees. Straighten your knees, that's good. Now, Phil, go ahead and straighten your knees. Straighten your knees. Okay, now, we're about to slip off on that right foot. Can you move your right foot back? Move that right foot back. Oh, that's good. Now, let's bring the other foot back. Okay, good. Now, go ahead and stand up. Straighten your legs. Straighten your legs. Okay, you're doing great. Your daddy's right there to help you. Okay, straighten your legs. Straighten those legs up. Okay, you do it. Okay, that's good. Okay, now, okay, get your knees straight. Try to get your knees straight. Now, I'm going to let you jump down. Okay, now, we're going to move up a little bit away from that table there, and I want to do that again, and this time you're doing great. You're doing great. I want you to put this foot a little bit higher up here. Can we? Okay, can you get it up there? Okay, good. Yeah. Good? Okay, good. There we go. Now get your leg a little bit, get it straight. Now lean forward, lean forward. Lean forward. Lean forward. Lean forward. I've got you. Don't go much hurt. Hold your head up. Get your knees straight. Straighten your back. Straighten your back. Okay. You're good. Okay, you're good. You're good. Okay, now lean forward. Now, arch your back. Arch your back. Okay, just stand straight. Just stand straight and put your arms out to the side. There you go. That's it. Now, lean forward. Oh, that's good. That's good. Straighten your knee. You're doing great. Okay, that's it. Can you straighten your knees, Eddie? Okay.
There you go.
Okay, now we're going to jump down again. Jump down. Oh boy. We're going to do that again.
We're going to do that.
You're doing super. You're doing super. Don't forget, your dad's right there by there, and he's going to, if you happen to fall, he's going to grab you. Okay, let's get that foot up there real high again. Whoop, let's see, I want to help you get it up. Okay, now, it's a little bit hard to straighten the legs at that position. Okay, up, up, up.
Yeah.
Try to get the legs straight. Stand up. Okay. Okay, that's it. Now just lean forward. Lean forward.
Oh.
Okay, good, good. Now, what I want you to do, Phil, is I want you to turn your feet toward the audience. And give me this wrist here. That's it. Now, turn their foot. Point this foot toward them. Right there. Now, give me your hand. Give me your wrist. This one, wrist. Okay. Now, grab it. Now, keep your legs straight. Straighten your legs. That's it. It's easier on you than it is. I'm going to let her lean out from me. Okay, you ready? Okay, here we go. Now, Fiona, put your left arm up by your ear. Yeah. Keep it straight. Keep your arms straight. Okay. Keep your legs straight. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to lean and do your arm up there like that. Oh, yeah. Can you see a bunch of lessons come from that? One is spotters. Who are our spiritual spotters? You take
Your
that.
mom and dad.
Mom and dad and Bible teachers, preachers, elders, you know. We've got, regardless of our age, we've got spiritual spotters. We can make a lesson about children. Suffer the little children to come to me, for such is the kingdom of heaven. Did you notice how that she just readily came up here when she was called? I kind of think that's what Jesus had in mind when he says, the kingdom of heaven like this, they've got to come to me. They've got to come to me. Or it could be a lesson about a number of different things that you saw up here. But I'm going to make it this way. Love. I don't know whether you heard me when we first started. I said, Fiona, do you trust me? Do you know me? Can you listen to me? Can you do what I tell you to do?
Yes.
Did you notice how it got better each time we did it? And if we had the time, which we're about 1 minute from being overtime, if we had the time, the more we do it, the easier it becomes, and we're just a part of it. That's the Christian life too. But did you see these things being demonstrated up here from 1 Corinthians 13? Here's what love is not in that passage. Love is not envious, boastful, proud, rude, selfish, easily angered, doesn't record evil or wrong, brother, and it's not happy with evil. I don't think we demonstrated any of that negative up here. But on the other hand, we did this. The agape love. Now, I love Fiona. Not romantic love, but the agape love. This love. Love is patient,
Why did you
kind. The spotter didn't get mad and I didn't get mad. We just kept working together. Rejoices with the truth. It protects. It trusts. It hopes. It perseveres. And time permitting, we would have been until we were able to just move on and add to it, step by step. It perseveres. It's endless. It's eternal. It's the greatest. Thank you for this.
I'm going to read a poem for you. This is the second public reading of this poem as far as I'm concerned.
I need a mic.
Many years ago, my older brother preached a sermon that I was really impressed by. He called it the Beatitudes of Revelation. Those Beatitudes of Revelation are in all of our Bibles. And of course, the first sermon recorded of Jesus had the Beatitudes in it. Well, Revelation has Beatitudes also. Most of you have a copy of this because it's in what was passed out to you. This is the second public reading as far as I'm concerned because I was asked to present a lesson on an introduction to Revelation in Kentucky this year. And I finished this assignment from last year for our reading specifically so that I could read it at that presentation. The Beatitudes of Revelation are in chapter 1 verse 3, chapter 14 verse 13, chapter 16 verse 15, chapter 19 verse 9, 20 verse 6, 22 verse 7, and 22:14. I'm not going to read them, but you have a copy of it. I would encourage you to read it, and I would encourage you to write your own version of those Beatitudes of Revelation. We often do not find the joy, the happiness from Revelation, because too much of the time we don't read it. We think that's that hard book. I am blessed and happy when I read the promise of blessing when I hear. I read and remember prophecy, the things written in the book so dear. That's 1:3. Blessed are the dead who die in the Lord, for from their labors they are rested. From now on, not forgotten by him, their work in him remembered, tested. Happy is the one who is watching, dressed and ready for the work imposed. Always ready, never naked. He's never shamefully exposed. Blessed to hear the invitation to attend the marriage feast so bright, to see the groom, our loving Savior, to be there with him in robes so white. Now blessed and holy is the promise for those who have risen whole and well. As part of the first resurrection, they fear not the second death of hell. He promises to come again soon, to receive him, to himself receive with loving look, to save the faithful, obedient ones. So keep the prophecy of this book. Blessed are all who have their blood-washed robes, to eat of the tree of life their right. Through the gates of pearl they may enter, gold streets of heaven's city of light. Revelation, blessings, Beatitudes of Revelation.
Okay, I'm not used to this, okay? Some of you know that I have written my life story. And this is one of the stories that I told at writing class the other day. And they say, you've got to tell everybody. Okay. We had been married several years and had 2 children already. And we usually took our vacation in October, first part of October, because the weather was nice about then. So we left Borger, Texas, went northwest and to my parents in Salem, Oregon. Visited with them for a good while. And mind you, we camped the whole way. We had a tent and sleeping bags and refrigerator, stove, Coleman. We supported Coleman back then. So we got up and visited my parents. Then we headed for Ainsworth, Nebraska to visit John's people. We stayed up there several days and visited them, had a good time. We started to leave home, for home, one morning, and Grandma Burley decided that we should take one of her geese home with us for Thanksgiving dinner. But how were we going to get the goose in the car? She took a tow sack and cut a slit in one side of it, put that goose's head through the slit, and he rode in the floorboard in the left back seat. That was fine until we got down into Kansas somewhere, and we started to stay the night in a motel. Yeah, with the goose. With the goose. So finally, didn't any of us take a shower that night, but the goose stayed in the shower. So about 2 or 3, 4 o'clock the next morning, that goose started honking. So loud, oh, it was so loud. So I don't remember whether we had told the people that owned the motel whether or not we had to do it. So we hurriedly got dressed, put the goose in the car, and took off. We got on home with the goose, and then we put him in a little backyard that we had fenced. And so that was fine, it worked just well. But every time I went out to hang diapers on the clothesline, that goose would peck me on the backs of my legs. And, oh, he could bite. Oh, he could bite. But I was so glad when it came time for Thanksgiving.
Keep rhythm with your hand.
Drinking the straw.
I'll start it, so you'll know what note to start on, but then you all just sing good and loud.
Hear the wind blow.
to sing. Okay, Home on the Range. Most people know that. Okay. These kids probably never heard these songs. What, first, second, and last? That is it, 1, 2, and 3, that's yours. Let's just start, instead of starting with the chorus, let's just start with the first verse. And do I do the chorus every time? Well, how fast are we supposed to be through here? How fast?
Don't know.
We'll just sing it like it is here. We'll go a little bit faster and get a little bit quicker.
Valley, they say you are going.
Bet you're from Alabama? No.
I'm going to Louisiana and go on to sea. In rainbow nights the day I left, the weather it was dry. The sun so hot I froze to death. Susanna, don't you cry. Oh, Susanna, oh, don't you cry for me. I come from Alabama with a banjo on my knee. I had a dream the other night when everything was still. I thought I saw Susanna dear coming down the hill. A lovely day was in her mouth, a tear was in her eye. Says I am coming from the south, Susanna, don't you cry. Oh, Susanna, oh, don't you cry for me. I come from Alabama with a banjo on my knee. I soon will be in New Orleans, and then I'll look around. And when I find Susanna, I'll fall upon the ground. But if I do not find her, this man will surely die. And when I'm dead and buried, Susanna, don't you cry.
That's good words.
Oh, Susanna, oh, don't you cry for me. I come from Alabama with a banjo on my knee.
It's called The Doctor.
But you have to make it fun.
The ducks walk to the store and asks the manager if he sells grapes. The manager says no, so the duck leaves. The next day, the duck goes back to the store and asks the manager if he sells grapes. The manager says no, we do not sell grapes. So the duck leaves and leaves the store. The next day, the duck goes back to the same store and asks the manager if he sells grapes. The manager is furious now. He says, no, we do not sell grapes. If you come back and ask again, I will not eat the one. Then the next day, the duck goes back to the same store and says to the manager, excuse me, do you sell nails at this store? The manager says, no, we do not sell nails. The duck replies, that's good, do you sell grapes?
Very good. Okay, the next up is Shirley Waldrop.
Here's Shirley.
This is for those of us who are 80, about to be 80, or hope to be privileged enough to live long enough to be 80. And this is from a Tennessee church bulletin. I have news for you. The first 80 years are the hardest. The second 80 are a succession of birthday parties. Everyone wants to carry your luggage, help you up the steps. If you forget your name, or anybody else's name for that matter, or what day it is, or an appointment, or promise to be at 2 or 3 places at the same time, spell words wrong, only to explain that you're 80. If you spill soup on your necktie or dress, or fail to shave one side of your face, or forget to zip up your dress or your pants, if your shoes don't match, or you carry a letter around for a week before you mail it, that's all right. you're 80, you know. At 80, you can relax without any misgivings. You have a special alibi for everything. Nobody expects much of you. It is a great deal better than 65 or 70. At that time, they expect you to retire at a little house in Florida or Arizona and become a discontented, grumbling has-been. But if you survive until you're 80, everybody is surprised you can walk, surprised that you can carry on an intelligent conversation. At 70, people are mad at you for everything. At 80, they forgive you for everything. If you ask me, life begins at 80.
Next up is Joe Waldron.
Right at top.
Short, right?
All 6 of them.
I wish I had known where she left a place for me to sign up. I sure wouldn't try to follow and act like that. But I'm 81. South Central Texas, a community around the U Valley, a lot of irrigated crops down there. It's been going on since World War II, brought a bunch of people back from war, and they cleared the mesquite trees, found fertile soil, and had bumper crops. Our scene opens with a farmer out working on his tractor, changing the oil in the filter. A strange pickup shows up. Oh, it's a shiny, brand spanking new thing. Pulled up, stopped, like he knew what he was doing. Gentleman got out, he's very, very tall, had some very expensive looking boots, was wearing a family size, vanilla colored Stetson straw hat. So he walks up to the farmer and says, "I'm here to inspect your farm." The fellow says, "Well, what for?" Says, "Well, I'm from the State Water Resources Board, and they want to be assured that you are doing with our water what you said you would do." Well, the farmer says, "Okay, just go ahead and start checking around. But don't go down in that meadow here downhill from the barn." That was not good. The fellow reached in his pocket, pulled out a little card, says, "Farmer, this card here says I can go on your farm anywhere I want to, anytime I want to, and look at whatever I want to. You got that?" Farmer said, "Well, go inspect." So the fellow helped himself to the little gate in the fence, and the farmer kind of glances, and he notices that sure enough, he's headed downhill to the little meadow. Well, he continues on changing the oil. About a minute and a half later, he hears a very boisterous yell for help, and he looks up just in time to see this guest lose his big fancy hat, and as he's trying to propel his rotund shape back up the hill towards the gate, his Dunlap disease was handicapping him great. That's where your belly button's Dunlapped over your belt button. The farmer observed very quickly that Brahma bull was gaining about 6 inches on him on every jump. The farmer cupped his hands and yells, "Show him your card!" America has benefited very greatly over its inception and growth these many, many years. So often, people left on their own will create or discover elements that benefit a great deal of folks and increase production just tremendously. Eli Whitney is the hero of many, many folks. He's most notable from 1793, having to do wondrous things for the cotton industry. Fiber was in great demand. He actually invented a stimulating drink, a beverage, if you please, called cotton gin, which let one man do the work of 15 men that don't have it. George and his sweet little sweetie lived just outside a little town, had an acreage. He produced hay, harvested hay, ran it through the baler, sold it to people, delivered. The house next door was a nice home, and it sold, and a new neighbor moved in. Come to find out, this fellow was a marriage counselor. Well, he and the fellow, I'll give him the name George, were well acquainted. There was just about 500-600 feet between houses. They enjoyed getting into their little outbuildings and just pass the time of day. But it wasn't very many weeks until George mentioned to the counselor, I just sure do have a problem. I'm just shy, and even though we've been married about 2 years, I'm just really having trouble feeling comfortable with my wife. And we just can't get in a good mood with each other at the same time. The counselor said, well, try saying something affectionate to attract her. The guy says, okay, I'll try it. So anyhow, next day, the counselor thought of a tool, a wrench, that he had seen up in George's workbench. So he's walking up to go in and just kind of help himself, because that's what George had mentioned to it. George didn't see him, but the counselor saw George over fondling a piece of equipment, and he heard him say, I get goosebumps every time I rub your shiny, round, green John Deere hood. He said something affectionate to a tractor. Thank you.
I think we'll be fine without it. We'll sing good and loud. Everybody, y'all have met my daughter Lily. She is quite the vocalist and musician. She plays lots of instruments. And so we're going to sing 2 little songs for you that we just enjoy singing together. Nice and loud. As the deer thirsts for the water, Lord, so my soul longs after you, longs after you. My soul thirsts for the living God. Yes, my soul longs after you, and I pour out my soul deep within me, I pour out my soul. Draw me deeper, Lord, in you. Draw me deeper, Lord, in you. Need a microphone for the second one. It was loud enough? No. On one side he said microphone, the other side they said just project a little.
One shot microphone, one shot.
sit down. Where's the microphone? I'll give Lily the microphone. Eleanor really wants to sing too. Okay, you ready for that? It's on, go ahead. So you're gonna start this, right?
Swing low,
Sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. I looked over Jordan, and what did I see? Coming for to carry me home. A band of angels coming after me, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home.
How many of you were at RoundUp last year? Okay, I think most of you were. You probably remember that we brought some special friends with us, Barry and Chris Thomas from Australia. Do you remember Barry and Chris being here? Okay. Well, we had a note from them, and they wanted us to be sure and tell all of you hello, and how much fun and how much they enjoyed the fellowship here last year. You may remember that Barry told quite a few jokes that made us laugh, and maybe a few that kind of made us blush. So the problem is that Barry has had a whole year of sending notes and jokes and things to me. So it looks like we have a lot of things here, but if you look through them, you'll notice that we had to edit some of them because I just couldn't bring myself to say them. So tonight, we want to share a few of the, we call them Barry-isms with you.
Women and cats will do as they please. Men and dogs, just relax, get used to it, and just accept that idea.
I was always taught to respect my elders, but it gets harder and harder to find one.
Today, a man knocked on my door and asked for small donations toward the local swimming pool, so I gave him a glass of water.
If you can smile when things go wrong, you have someone in mind to blame.
Hospitality is the art of making guests feel like they're at home when you wish they were.
Women spend more time wondering what men are thinking than men spend thinking.
He who laughs last thinks slowest.
Is it wrong that only one company makes Monopoly?
Sometimes I wake up grumpy. Other times I let her sleep.
No matter how much you push the envelope, it'll still be stationary. Breaking news, breaking news. Senior drivers no longer need a driver's license test.
My neighbor was working in his yard when he was startled by a late model car that came crashing through his hedge and ended up in his front yard. He rushed to help an elderly lady driver out of the car and set her down in a lawn chair. He said with kind of excitement, "You appear to be too elderly to be driving."
Well, yes, I am. I'll be 97 next month, and now I'm old enough that I don't even have to have a driver's license anymore.
You don't need a driver's license anymore?
That's right. The last time I went to my doctor, he examined me and asked me if I had a driver's license. I told him, yes, I did, and I handed it to him. Well, he took the scissors out of his drawer, cut the license into pieces, and threw them in the wastebasket. And then he said, you don't need this anymore. So I just thanked him and left. You know, Quentin and I are kind of known for our travels, and one of the places that we traveled not too long ago was Scotland, and we had an absolutely wonderful, wonderful time, and we didn't have any illness, we just had no ill effects, we felt great the whole time. But after reading the note that Barry sent to us, I realize now that we were really very, very lucky. It's hard to believe, but we're going to share with you some comments that were made by medical secretaries at the National Health Service in Glasgow, Scotland. And I just want to say, I want you to listen carefully because I do not want to have to explain these things to you.
The patient has no previous history of suicide.
The patient's medical history has been remarkably insignificant, with only a 40-pound weight gain in the last 3 days.
The patient has a chest pain if she lies on her side for over a year.
On the second day, the knee was better, and on the third day, it disappeared.
The patient is cheerful and crying constantly.
Tearful. Not cheerful.
Let's start that over. The patient is tearful and crying constantly. She also appears to be depressed.
The patient has been depressed since she began seeing me in 1993.
This is the discharge status. Alive, but without my permission.
Healthy, appearing decrepit, 69-year-old male, mentally alert, but forgetful.
The patient had waffles for breakfast and anorexia for lunch.
She is numb from her toes down.
While in ER, she was examined, X-rated, and sent home.
He has occasional, constant, infrequent headaches.
Patient was alert and unresponsive.
She stated that she had, excuse me. She stated that she had been constipated for most of her life until she got a divorce.
The lab test indicated abnormal lover function.
Skin, somewhat pale, but present.
Patient has 2 teenage children, but no other abnormalities.
The patient was in his usual state of good health until his airplane ran out of fuel and it crashed.
She slipped on the ice, and apparently her legs went in separate directions in early December.
Okay, I'm not sure I can say this. Okay, patient was seen in consultation by Dr. Smith, who felt we should sit on the abdomen, and I agreed.
The patient was to have a bowel resection. However, he took a job as a stockbroker instead.
the time he was admitted, his rapid heart had stopped, and he was feeling better.
Okay, for the sake of your health, stay away from the Scottish hospital. And by the way, if you've got any ideas or comments on this, send it to the Barry Thomas family in Australia.
Doing banjo, but I didn't have a banjo. This is from a movie Your Brother We're On Town with, well, it's the Sunny Side Live. for wheel. This next song's a song you played, you probably remember it, it's from the 60s.
last day. Floyd training.
Good song. Yeah, first time I heard that driving that. You hear a song that gives you chills. Last day. This is one of This is a blues song. Kind of combination of a couple songs. Is that mic, can you hear okay? Okay. This thing, this little pick's got holes in it. You keep it from sliding on. Another trick, you wet your fingers a little bit, because a lot of times that you're picking, that thing slides around, you lose it. from the Ken Burns series on the Civil War. And there was like 7 or 8 segments as a series. And they would open with this, it's called the Shogun Farewell. They would open with it and they would close with it. I remember the first night, this was back in 1990 when they first showed it. I understand they had a Civil War here one time. And I heard it, and again, someone gives me chills. So I picked up my guitar, but the second or third night I had it down. There it is. It'd be nice if I had, when I'm back home, there's this blind fellow. We get together once a week and play, and he plays a rhythm. And a lot of these songs are playing without a rhythm. It's kind of like half, the way it should be. So this song needs a rhythm, but just have to do it.
This is in answer to a special request, or at least a request, and I can't remember who was it that asked that I do this. If you're not here, maybe I can just sit down. Oh, okay. Probably fitting for Memorial Day weekend, and there's a lot that I would like to say in introduction to this poem, which is 102 years old this month. In Canada, we don't have Memorial Day, we have Remembrance Day, which is separated by about 6 months. It happens on November 11th. And every year, Canadian school children, at least when I was in elementary school, learned this poem. And I guess I could also say, when I learned it, I was closer to the actual writing of the poem than you are to the 102nd anniversary now. But it's written by a Canadian named John McCrae. It's called In Flanders Fields. In Flanders Fields, the poppies blow. Between the crosses, row on row that mark our place. And in the sky, the larks, still bravely singing, fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead, Short days ago, we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset below, loved and were loved. And now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you, from failing hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep. Though poppies grow in Flanders fields.
If you know the answer, you can just raise your hand. How long you? How do you make a hot dog stand? Really? Take away its chair. Yes.
Take away its chair. Take away
Keeps
its
the
chair.
ocean clean. Kaylin.
The mermaid.
The what? The mermaid. Why was the jelly so stressed out?
Jelly, so stressed out. Was in a jam?
Its spread was too thin. What do birds do before they work out?
Before they what?
Work out.
Okay.
They're warm-ups.